About to do this dance. Okay, I think I might be live on all cylinders. Yo, peace. Peace, family. Hope everybody's doing well. Appreciate y'all's patience. We're going to ahead and go get started. Obviously, the topic for discussion is, let me make sure I'm clicking, indigenous indigenous business operations, right? Because I think a lot of y'all sometimes maybe there's might be some missing gaps and things of that nature. And so I think it'll be good just to kind of fill in some of those things and also give you practical things that you can do for your business, right? Because some of y'all haven't even opened up your account. So let's see if I can share my screen, but we're going ahead and get started. Oh yeah, I didn't even do it this way. Hold the phone. Let me see if I can get this situated. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Let me get this squared away. And then I'm going to do this. Cancel. Let me see what I can do. Give me 30 seconds and we'll go ahead and get started, Joe. Why is it not working? So it's something whenever you try to do something. Nope. Not. Oh, there it is. That's what I'm looking for. Bet. Peace, peace, y'all. Peace. Give me 1 second, y'all. About to go ahead and get started real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. Uh, Peace, family. Cool. Let's go ahead and get started. I think I'm clicking all cylinders. So for those on Instagram, just know that if you want to watch the slides, you can go ahead and go to either Hawab, YouTube, or Facebook, or just whatever one, whichever one you want to. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. So I'm gonna share my screen, and y'all let me know if y'all can see my screen. Dun, 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 dun. Let me see. Cool. Y'all can see my screen. Just let me know if y'all can see my screen, if it's big enough, if it's clear. Um, Let me know in the chat whether it's all gravy or not. So make sure. Cool, 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 cool. And everybody can hear me too. So cool. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. So these are the topics that we're going to be talking about. So it's going to be a lot of information to cover, y'all. But I know it seems like, oh man, it's just only two topics. But there's stuff that we have to go into. And so we're going to be talking about some investment opportunities as well as some basic indigenous operations with your business. Peace, everybody. Peace, 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 peace. Okay, so before we get started, though, got to do the preamble. So, we always do the preamble. So, we, the people of the Aboriginal Republic of North America, asserting our natural Aboriginal rights as the oldest recorded Aboriginal Indigenous peoples of the Americas, consisting of an Aboriginal Union of Indigenous peoples, living in accordance with natural law, the law of our ancestors, do hereby recognize all nationals of the Aboriginal Republic of North America as a unified community, establish our divine right to self rule, common defense of our nation, a complete unified will for progress and prosperity by and for our people, establishing justice by way of natural law and equality, and complete autonomy as a nation. Cool. So, as nationals, you need to know the preamble as well as the 12 general orders. I cover this every time in class. So just kind of be aware of that. You might be asked on the spot, just in case you may be doing, door duty or security and things of that nature. You just need to know these 12 general orders. Okay. And then making sure you're staying up to date with dues. I know y'all get tired of Kojo being like, damn, man, you talk about this every time. I don't even delete this slide. So these are the reasons why, it's important to pay dues. It funds employment for non-nationals and nationals, and as well as it helps acquire different equipment and resources and things of that nature, and allows us to make possible investments. And it funds the government, helps us keep going. Okay, so there was something that was thought was interesting. Probably y'all probably checked it out, but Starbucks basically issued a statement that they're going cashless, right? So what does that mean for y'all going cashless? Well, that means brace yourself for different venues of currency or just different resources that you can have possibly on deck, um, because they're just the beginning, right? There's other places that are doing the same thing, that they're turning it into a cashless, or a store that has no person in it, right? So the other thing that was also interesting is that Pope Francis instructs the Vatican entities to move all funds into the Vatican Bank. Basically, any cash, coins that people have donated to the church, yeah, go ahead and put that put that in the bank so that we can make this cashless society, and whatnot. So it's just a reminder to everybody that be aware of what is taking place. Seriously, and yeah, so that's just interesting. And then the other thing that I just want to make sure that everybody is aware is this. So this is the investment opportunity that I'm talking about. Homestake is the name of the company. You can also invest into this company. So that's really the idea of, when you're doing private investing, you want to look at the evaluation to make sure that does it make sense? Does it have a real case scenario of what actually needs to happen for it to be a best investment, right? So whether it actually has a product, software, it's a service. Then you also look at the valuation, how much is the cap, and things of that nature. But home shake, it falls into the realm of real estate, right? Is the next real estate. That's the message that they're communicating. So basically, it makes the real estate process a lot smoother, where it takes out the middleman. And when you take out the middleman, that's the disruptive kind of technology or service that you're offering to the people. Um, and so and I think they even reduced like the transaction fees and stuff like that. So it's just really honest, cut clean down to the real estate transaction, which is all it really needs to be anyway in the first place, because people, real estate agents, they like to jack up the price. You got the broker, you got everybody's involved, right? Doing the handshake. So these are just some of the benefits. Like I said, honest connection. It removes the middleman, emphasizes on the organization, and then just exclusive, inventory. There's always houses being listed. So this is something that you can actually invest into this company. You can just Google Homestake, invest. They're raising money. So it's just something that I would just suggest to look into. Don't have to, but just so y'all know. Let me see. Doo-doo-doo. Okay. I know some of y'all be thinking like, yeah, I got my business, or I'm a national, and it's about to be straight forth. Like ain't nothing about to go wrong. Everything's gonna be perfect. And listen, that is not reality. Okay, things are always going to be changing, and it's important to just be flexible and adaptable, right? When things do change, because sometimes maybe we've done a certain thing for a certain way for a period of time, and then they introduce a monkey wrench, and so they change it up, and so we have to move accordingly. So as nationals or people who hold indigenous businesses through ARNA, you need to be flexible and adaptable. um, that's very important. And then just get rid of the welfare mentality that, oh, I've been spoiled so much, but now like when I can't, get in contact with somebody, that it's the end of the world, and it's like it's not the end of the world. Sometimes you just have to continuously be persistent and just don't give up reaching out. Don't give up, trying to, get some help or assistance. That's very important to just kind of keep that stuff in mind. I'm telling you. So we got to get rid of that welfare mentality, right? And then also, things that come up in people's head is, why isn't Arnold running like America? And it's like, yo, we're a birth of a nation. There's things that we're doing, and there's things already in place. It's just it takes cooperation, and it takes honesty, and it takes people who are improving, working on themselves, taking care of their health, have the right mindset, and just continuously do. So just kind of keep this in mind when you're looking at just the whole picture when it comes to this stuff. And we'll get into the other stuff later. Okay, so I know I showed this last time in class, Aboriginal shape. Are you an Aboriginal shape? But we're going to be focusing on specifically on the financial side obviously for your indigenous businesses that you get through Honor, right? So before you even get started, it's important to know what documents you have. Do you have all of them? And what's the other thing? And do you understand what it is that you're about to do when you go open up a business bank account? Some of y'all are like, I have no idea. Some of y'all think, yes, I know what to do, but then I get nervous or I get scared and I say the wrong thing, like, oh, I'm opening up a whatever. And it's just like, that's not what you're supposed to do. And it's important to just really review the documents you have. And if there's something that you're missing, be sure to just, hey, I didn't get this document. Can somebody do it for me? Or, what do I need to do to have this done properly? I mean, there's stuff that, you can do to get around it, right? And there's even videos, there's instructions for this. Trust me. Now, some of the questions that came through whenever I put it out there is, how do I make my business tax exempt? Listen, your business is tax exempt by law, constitutional law, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the Constitution. Like you see it right here on the screen. Statutes 1542 when it comes to indigenous exemptions, and then also USC 2541, 25412. These are the things that make your business exempt, right? So there's nothing else for you to prove. Now you may get into certain situations where you're like, oh, well, they didn't honor my exemption. They didn't this, that, and third. Well, that's a whole different step. But you have an exemption certificate that you get from us that shows that your business is exempt by law, right? And it's stamped and sealed by us within ARNA. So if there's any confusion on, is my business tax exempt? When you get into the state, jurisdictions, obviously there's different processes and procedures that they want you to go through, but by law, there's nothing for you to report. As long as you're not signing into contracts that are going to, jeopardize your business and put it on, where it's like, oh yeah, you're responsible for paying taxes because you register X, Y, and Z. Totally different. So keep this in mind. Your business is tax exempt by law, and this is the stuff that proves it. So hopefully that answers questions for people who asked that. Again, if you want to do something extra where you're like, oh, I want to do a 501(d) or something like that, that's a whole different process. But your business is tax exempt. So if there's any doubt or questions, it's just a matter of, are you going to hold these people responsible and make them honor your tax exemption for your business, right? So you can't just sit on your hands about the situation. So if something does happen that is wrong, like they're violating your business or whatever, you got to get after it, point it out to them and say, hey, my business should not even be taxed. I haven't filed any documentation to show that, I need to pay taxes. Like you didn't sign up, through the state, you didn't do any XYZ. There's nothing for you to report because you're operating in an indigenous, capacity. And that's the whole point. So again, it just goes back into removing the welfare mindset. You have to remove that mindset that, oh yeah, somebody's always going to be there to hold my hand. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you have to make sure that you understand your business. And that's where we'll get into it a little bit. So one thing that I want to keep in mind and throw out to everybody, nationality is a resource, but you have to belong to a body politic or an indigenous government. I'm telling you, that has the institutions, that has the land, that has the resources, that has all that stuff, because that is another resource that folks are just overlooking. Talked about this before, but that's not the whole premise. I just wanted to show this. So some of y'all may be looking at this. I know we're still going over the basics, but we're going to get into the operations. But some of y'all looking like this whenever I was like, banking procedures. Some of y'all probably don't even know where this is at. This is in your protocol manual. Be sure to read it. Again, there's a video, but we have to understand that there are processes and procedures that we have to follow. So I just won't waste too much time on that. Things that you'll need when you open up a bank account. You're going to need 2 forms of ID. You want to make sure that they match. We don't want to get into things that are not matching. They're like, well, who is this? Or who is that? Then it's like fraud. Then they'll close the account, and then you'll really be in trouble. So just make sure that things are lined up, even with your social security number, right? If you're going to use one thing, use it all the way, because what's going to happen is, like, when you open up let's say a payment processing platform like Cash App. They're going to ask you for your social. And if your social says your old name and then you're trying to use it under your new name or another business that's under your new name, you're going to be in trouble. So, and then that is looked at as fraud. So you want to make sure that all your documents, all your credentials lined up with your business articles and all those things. So, and it's because of the Real ID Act. Won't spend too much time on it. So, mindset is everything. I keep telling y'all this because it is so true. Your business will not grow unless you work it, unless you have the right proper mindset. So there's nothing magical or genius about that. That's just the truth. And thinking that this is going to be smooth sailing, like we talked about earlier, that's not the case. So yeah, let's dive into it. So your operations. How does your business operate? Like, what is the premise of your business? That is so important. Like, what is the service? What is the product that you're offering? And how does the operations look like? You need to have that laid out. So I'll give you an example. So let's say you're opening up an Indigenous law firm. Okay. There's a couple of things of operation that you're going to have to know. Like, okay, these are the services that I can do. This is the time frame, how I go about executing this to this to this, and I'll do it in a precise manner, whether it's written down or it's understood within your firm. But you need to have some form of operational document or something that you know that you can follow so that you can hand off to somebody else, right? And then when I say hand off, I'm like meaning there's certain things that maybe you don't need to do that you need to hand off to or automate it, essentially. So think about those things. Maybe there's something that happens to your business where you lose something or something changes, right? Well, you need to have provisions for that, and that's the whole point. Financing. You got a plan for financing. So you got like, how do I get financing? How do I get this? How do I get that? You need to know the stuff so that your business won't suffer. Product design. That's when it gets into products and services and things of that nature. Quality control. Is your service up to standard? Is it up to par? Are you following through? Are you executing? And then forecasting. What is it going to look like next year? Does it make sense to continue to do this service? Or do I need to discontinue it? Or do I need to end this product because it's not doing well? So these are the things, but you have to track that stuff. And then using the best effective strategy moving forward and things of that nature. So you need a vision. You need a vision. You need a vision for your business. The other thing is that you don't want to worry about other people's opinions because they're just like you and there's something that maybe they stink at because there's always people who are criticizing our businesses. And so it's just important to know that there's something that they stink at too. But we're not aware of it. Right. So don't, take it too much to heart. Right. But just keep in mind of like what they're saying. Right. If it's something that's actually true, then that's what you want to do. Now the other thing is that it can be lonely, but you definitely want to work it as a team if possible with the right people. If you use cosmology and things of that nature, you want to work it as a team because that's what really is going to make things happen. I swear. But it can be lonely because at the end of the day, if something blows up, if something goes wrong, it's all on you. Like nobody else. You can't blame nobody else. You can't go say, "Oh no, it was your fault." It's all on you, and that's important. So it's like, yeah, everything lives and dies by you. So just keep that in mind. So let's just talk about some of the payment platforms that you should think about considering using. Diversify yourself. Never lean on one platform only as a source to take in payments because they'll either close the account, they'll hold the money, they'll say, "Oh, well, we can't give you the money," or "We didn't receive the money," or people putting in fraudulent requests saying, "Oh, you didn't deliver this and this, that, and third." Okay, that's why you always want to have backup, right? You got PayPal, even though PayPal is okay, they take out too much fees. Square, you got Stripe, you got WePay, you got Amazon Payments, different platforms that you can use. And there's more. You can obviously use Cash App, but and Zelle. But it's just like you want to make sure that things are just as professional as possible. There's a WooCommerce that you can utilize. I mean, there's just different stuff that you can use. The idea is that have different places because people do make up stuff they may jeopardize your business. Say, hey, you didn't deliver a product, which happens. Say you didn't deliver a product, and then it shuts down your account for no reason. And so what does that do? That now you can't take payments. But if you have multiple payments in place, that's going to prevent you from basically being, asked out essentially. So hopefully that makes sense. Um, yeah, and you want to also look at just the fraud free and the fee, schedule for these different platforms. That's very important because if they're taking too much, then that goes into your margin, that goes into, what you need to do to pay overhead and stuff like that, and pay your employees or pay your members, your team members. Direction with your business. This is the step that it's just pretty simple. You just need to acquire, automate, and scale. You need to get leads, y'all. Like that's how you get a sustainable business. You got to get leads, and you got to make sure they're qualified leads, because if they're not qualified, then you're just going to be wasting your time and you're not making money. So that's important. So how do you filter that process of leads? Well, maybe you can put in an intake, right? That has a qualifying question that, they have to answer. Let's say, like, do you have any, money to pay for a service if I have the remedy? And if they say no, then you already know what type of lead that is. It's not a priority, but you'll get to it, but it's just not a priority right now. Versus somebody says, yes, I have the money to pay right now for a service, I will pay. That is a priority more so, and that's just operating business, right? So you want to make sure you qualify your leads. That's very, very, very important. If you don't qualify your leads, then what's happening right now is that you'll just be spinning your wheels and wasting time, and you're trying to figure out, how come I'm not making money? So keep that in mind. And then obviously there's like obviously this is different thresholds as far as like the limits. But obviously when you get to a point where money's coming in, things are flowing, and you feel overwhelmed or you think you're overwhelmed, that's where you want to start thinking about, okay, there's some things I probably need to let go, farm out, or automate. And there's easy ways to do it, right? You can use a SaaS program. You can hire virtual assistants, or you can hire different or deploy different systems like MailChimp or whatever the case is, to basically have you not wear one less hat that you have to wear to run your business. So the whole point is to automate so that it allows you to be free enough to think of the bigger picture and just help things going in the right direction. But you can't do that if you're wearing all these different hats. You need help, right? And you want to do it as a team. Do it as a team of people who you qualify, cosmology and things of that nature, because I guarantee you, if you just do that, then you just find yourself doing another job versus actually just running an actual business that has steady flow of cash flow, and then you can operate another business, right? And then add it to your plate, right? That's another revenue source of stream. And then obviously, once you get to a point where you put specific things in place, procedures, then you can scale it however you want to scale it. And that's where you can basically take in a system where it's crafted to your business, and it automates a lot of things. It takes care of a lot of different stuff, and you're good to go. And there's different programs like that. But it's like a multitude of different programs and one that you're going to have to use to scale up. So hopefully that makes sense. But these are just kind of the departments that you want to like kind of focus on when it comes to automating. Obviously, you want to automate the financing and accounting. You want to automate customer support by hiring a VA. How do you automate leads and things of nature? Well, you can do videos to basically filter people out, or along with certain intakes or forms that they have to fill out. The idea is that you want to filter the people, and then you want to qualify them at the same time. You'll get to everybody, but you just want to filter them. So that's what you got to do, right? That is simplistic. And then you also want to automate the payroll, like just paying people. You want to make sure that you can put in a schedule within this payment system, and it's just like, okay, yep, they pay at this schedule, at this date, first of the month, pay these people, and that's it. You don't worry about it. That's how you put less stress on yourself, because you have systems. You got to have systems in place. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, the directions with your business. I'm telling you, there's different ways to get leads, different ways to, like we talked about, making content, making videos, but meaningful videos, people that will find things useful. Because if you're just making videos to make videos, people are like, why are you even talking? or if you're just trying to just always sell, 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 and never add value or just tell how to help people solve some of their, challenging problems, I guarantee you it's just going to be a hard, steady road for you. So you want to make sure you're doing that. And also something that can help get you leads is just doing topics or videos on related, like current issues or current events, because that's what's going to really help you. Oh, like this person seems like they know what they're talking about. They'll click on your video. You said something that was like, oh wow, that was insightful. You gave them a call to action to basically reach out to you, schedule a free consultation, or whatever, however you want to set it up as your call to action, your CTA, and then they'll go through the funnel. The idea is that you want to have a funnel that's steadily coming in. And if you don't know, video marketing is like one of the best effective things to do. And you want to do that for your business. So again, it has to be something that catches people's attention. It has to be something that, oh, damn, like, okay, that's cool. And then the other thing is just that people can DM you based off of the content you posted. And then that's also another way to generate leads, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. And then the other thing is you want to build networks. You want to build networks with different people. Maybe there's different skill sets, different trades that people do, and you want to be able to tap into those things. Obviously, it's like give and take. You want to make sure that people are like, okay, well, how do I do X, Y, and Z? Like, oh, I know how to do it. And then y'all connect up and link up. And then there's something of value that you can offer to that person, and then you have another network, right? So the idea is that those people who you help solve their problem, they're like, oh yeah, I know a couple of people who actually need your service, and then they'll plug you in, right? That's the idea, and that's how it usually starts off initially. You're going to get to a point where it's not going to be like people are going to refer you to, people are going to refer your business, and you're going to get an influx, and you're like, you can't take them all, and that's okay. That's a good problem. But what you can do is you can always farm it out to somebody else who's qualified and capable of doing it. And then that way, that's another way of building the network. And this is stuff you can do today, real time. And the idea is just to put resources, idea, information together. Because you want to work together as a team. So the other thing is some of y'all don't think y'all will never get tired. And I'm telling you, there's things that you want to put in place so that way when things do get rough, you're not tired. Or you're not too tired to like execute something, because you're like, okay, I have this system in place. I have these people in place. This can run on even if something does happen to me where like maybe I'm like out of commission for a little bit and I need to recover. Like the business doesn't solely depend on you. Like it's automating. It's like things are still going to get processed. Things are still going to be getting done, but you want to look at that. And some of the stuff may take customizing of software, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But it always depends on your type of business, right? That's really what it matters. So let's talk about business credit. These are the entities that only matter when it comes to business credit. Now, there's others that may pop up, but they're not really that important. Equifax, Experian, DUNS. Even though DUNS is kind of like getting into that dinosaur age, because really they don't ask for a DUNS number. They're just asking for the EIN, right? So when they're asking for the EIN, they put that EIN in their system. They'll do an AI search to see if there's any history on it. And then when you get denied, you're like, damn, why did I get denied? I have a DUNS number and DUNS is reporting, X, Y, and Z, but maybe Equifax and Experian aren't reporting. And that's really what they're pulling from in most cases. So you need to keep those things really in your mind. Like the DUNS number is free. You don't have to pay for anything. It's good to have and things of that nature. And it used to be one of the things that you would need to get in order to, register with grants.gov to get a unique identification number. But that changed, and we'll talk about that very shortly. But that's the big thing, really, is that these are the things that you want to, focus your attention on when it comes to building business credit. And you need to do that stuff, right? This is part of the financing. Now you want to think about cash flow. Cash flow is very important. How do you keep track of your cash flow with your expenses going out versus what's coming in versus with your revenue? You need to know all that stuff. You need to know, okay, which products, which services are bringing in the most revenue. And then maybe you want to double down on that. Like you really want to double down on that, because when you do that, that's when you're going to see that, oh, okay, yeah, things are like growing tremendously at a rapid pace. That's good. But you also want to monitor your expenses, because you don't want to be spending so much more than what you're making. That's important because some of y'all gonna be crying if you're not careful, right? You're gonna be crying. So watch the cash flow. So that's important. So going back and continuing with the change with the SAM, it used to be, like I said, pretty straightforward. You get a DUNS number, you register with grants.gov, you log in, you get a unique identification number, and then boom, you apply to SAMS and get a SAMS number, and then you're good to go. Like there's nothing else for you to do besides applying to different things like federal contracting gigs and stuff like that. But they've changed it since April 4th, 2022. Now keep in mind what I was saying, that how we used to do things sometimes is old, sometimes changes. And this is a perfect instance of that happening. And it was, one of the nationals in Hawaii brought this to my attention. I was like, oh no, it should be, it shouldn't be that way. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh dang, yeah, you're right. That notice is very blatant. So that's the old way, and they've changed things. And so keep in mind that you got to be flexible, got to be adaptable. So that's the whole point of like getting rid of that welfare mindset that, oh, it's supposed to be, or getting rid of this idea that, oh, everything's going to go smooth and perfect and it's going to be flowing. No, things happen and things change. And when you need help, just reach out, right? And sometimes you may need to reach out multiple times, right? That's okay. But to solve this issue, you really want to, because like what's going to happen is you're going to apply for the SAMS number. The AI system's going to reject it. SAMS is already aware of this. They know it's a big problem. So it's going to cause delays. And sometimes what will happen is that they may close out the ticket because they create a ticket automatically. Again, going back to automating systems and things of nature, they have a problem with their system that they need to update. But you need to call them. You may have to spend a lot of time on the phone, but the idea is that you want to make sure that you get these things processed and moving forward. Because if you don't, you're going to be wondering, why have I not gotten the SAM's number yet? And it's because they probably closed out the ticket and they moved on. I don't know if they did it on purpose or automatic. I don't know. But the idea is that you want to make sure that you get yourself a SAM's number, right? Especially if you want to bid on government contract gigs. Like that's the way you're going to do it, right? And then also, when you're applying for grants.gov, just make sure you register, make sure you have everything. The thing that's going to really help this is that if you form a team, it's going to be really hard to do this kind of by yourself. You want to have specific people who are going to maybe search for grants, and then you're going to have people who are going to apply for the specific grants that are in your niche. And then you're going to formulate all the documents, all the people who have the different skills to help you execute this for these different grants, right? And the same thing goes with the government contracting gigs. You want to focus on the ones that are in your wheelhouse that are for your business, right? That's the idea. And then when you're doing that stuff, you want to be very mindful of these things because they can do things like, oh, well, you got a government contract gig, you have to register with the state, and then they're going to make you liable for paying state taxes as well as, federal taxes, right? So anything dealing with the government like that, when the government is paying you, you want to be mindful of that stuff because it can get a little wonky. That's what I'm saying. Because you don't want these people at your doorstep, right? Because they're coming, right? They're coming to get people who are doing money dealings under the table, not showing all, their transactions. You said, what about tribal land grants? What do you mean by tribal land grants? You have more specific of an example, like the agriculture side of the land grants, or just land improvement? Like, let me know what you mean by that question. And be specific if you can. Okay. So yeah, because these people are coming, right? We've talked about this before. You've seen it. IRS has hired 87,000 agents, and they're coming armed. Grants for indigenous tribes to build. Oh, okay. Yeah. So those grants, those grants are actually out there, and you want to make sure that the terms and conditions, like they say, like, okay, yeah, this is going to be used for building infrastructure on tribal land. If you have land that's underneath your indigenous business and it's set up properly, things of nature, then, and if you have some land, and again, it's underneath the indigenous entity, then you should be good to go. The only difference is just the terms and conditions. You always have to read the terms and conditions on whether you're going to have to be responsible for XYZ. You need to show progress. You need to show, okay, what did you do with the funds that were given, and then XYZ. Like, so it just depends on the terms and conditions for the grants themselves when building. If they give you grants for infrastructure, hopefully that answers that question. Um, Let me make sure. Da, 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 da. Okay, cool. Now, there was also some questions that I did receive. How do I update my business name or just updating things with the IRS for my indigenous business? This may sound so archaic, but all you can do one or two things. You can write to them and explain what you need to change from XYZ and who needs to be updated or whatever the case is, or you can call them. I prefer calling because they'll do it right then on the spot. And so they're hiring how many agents, auditing agents? Man, there should be some people who can be able to answer that phone quicker than how they've been doing it. Um, so just call them, say, hey, I wanted to make updated changes to my business name. For example, I give you an example. I had an entity that I forgot to put LLC at the end of it, and I wanted that in the name. And so I just called the IRS, and this was like, I'm talking about months later. Call the IRS, say, hey, I wanted to update the name of the business from this to this with LLC on it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then, but first I had to verify who I am, how do I, how am I attached to the business? What's the name of the business? All this other stuff. So they had to ask verifying questions to make sure you are qualified to actually update that business. And so that is the process of just updating the IRS just like that for your indigenous business. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult. You may spend a long time in waiting to do that, but the idea is that you can do it. So don't ever think that, oh, well, my address changed. Can I update the IRS or do I just leave it the same? No, you can update the IRS and then they can put the proper address that you want in the system. It's just easy as just giving them a phone call or writing to them. So your choice. So hopefully that answers that question that I got via Facebook or whatnot. Da, 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 da. Let's move on. Funding options. Now I know we talked about grants, we talked about government contracting. Um, we also talked a little bit about business credit, but some of the things that you can do for business credit. Easy one is like Capital One Spark. If you have a decent credit score, I'm talking about in the 600s, like not at the 500s, I'm talking about the high 600s, and you got a new business, an indigenous business from ARNA, you should be able to get bare minimum 2,000 or 3,000 or even 5,000 business credit line from Capital One Spark, the gold one. It's very simple, very easy, doesn't take much. So the idea is that that's additional funding that you can add into your pocket. And you just need to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. If you don't, and you just want to go strictly off of your business, that's okay too. You can do that as well. But understand that they're always going to do some sort of soft background check with just using the Capital One Spark. And the good thing about using the Capital One Spark is that it reports to all agencies from, Equifax to Experian, right? I think the only thing that doesn't, I think you have to ask to see if they report the DUNS, but I think they do. But double check me on that. But the idea is that you want to report it to both agencies so that that's something showing on your EIN so that your EIN's not blank. They're like, you have no history. So they're not going to approve you, right? And these are just some baseline, what is a good business credit score, right? Dun & Bradstreet, 80 plus, Experian, 76 plus, Equifax, 70 plus. Doesn't take that much to have good business credit, right? And then the other thing is with your funding, you want to make sure that you're focusing on sustaining. Like, yeah, let's say you got a huge amount of grant money one year and then next year it's dry. Well, if you sustained it and you focused on just making sure that you're investing back into the business so that it kind of funds itself with new gigs, new products, new services, and stuff like that, then you don't necessarily have to worry about that. You should always keep that in mind, like focusing on sustaining. How can I make this business sustainable? That's very important. And sometimes you may have to do odd gigs, like maybe you're doing freelancing for somebody, just so that you can put resources back into the company. The idea is that you want to keep your indigenous business going, and there's ways that you can do that. You can go through Fiverr. You can go through a couple. I forget the other one, but you can, basically act as a freelancer, and that's the point. You want to have a place where you can reach people. Oh, peace, peace, Sister Tasha, peace. And so those are the things you want to keep in mind when it comes to funding, right? Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. But again, for those on Instagram, if you want to see the slides, you can see them on YouTube. Now let's talk about products and services. Some, let's just say, for you want to run a medical clinic, right? You're like, okay, what do I need to do to run a medical clinic? Or maybe what do I need to do to run an agricultural farm, or whatever the case is, right? You have to look at services and products, right? So let's start with the medical clinic. Let's say you're like, okay, I'm offering to like do diagnostics on people, help break down what some of the issues, prescribe certain things that they need to get from different clinics within the ARNA web, and then that's it. You don't actually make products, but that's just a service that you provided, and you actually provided counseling, consulting, and direction with a report of what they need to do. But if you combine that with products such as, maybe you're making an elixir or, a tonic that's going to aid along with that, then that's another thing. But you have to price it accordingly. And you want to make sure that it actually works. That's an example of just mixing the products and services. Yes, you can just do where it's just a service, like obviously like a law firm. Like a law firm primarily is just, you're just offering services based off of the skills that you know. But you can also add where you have a book, right? Or you have a manual or something like that. That's a product that you can attach to that's practical within, your business. And you want to keep that stuff in mind when you're running your business. And you always want to make sure that it's measured up to the highest quality. You don't want to do something that's janky. You don't want to do something that it's like, oh, that's not good. Like, why are you even offering that as a service? Because it didn't come out well. And that's part of the measuring. You want to make sure that whatever it is that you're offering, you get a feedback into that. Because if you don't get any feedback, you have no idea, then you're just like, well, it seems like it's working. But the other thing is that you want to be practical. Like, we need to be practical, especially the kind of like the climate. I don't know if anyone's seen like the 10-year yield and things of that nature, but you want to be practical on your business when you're doing things, because sometimes, people were like, oh, celebrating when things were really, really good. And then, when markets started to slow down, they're like, oh, damn, like I need free money. And that's a problem. So you want to be practical. So like things that are usually not the best thing when as times are slow or during a recession. Again, this is not fear mongering. This is just being practical. Entertainment, luxury, all those things like, there's a place, but it's just like, you're making just shirts. Like people are not worried about shirts, right? Or they worried about food for the most part. They're worried about, okay, how do I pay my goddamn mortgage or this debt? Like that's usually how people shift. And then they're like, oh, they're just trying to survive. In most cases when the economy slows down. So you want to be practical and understand what type of business makes sense to actually go into. Build products, build services that actually solve people's problems. And the template has been given through Aboriginal University. Dr. Ali Muhammad has put, a wonderful template that you can use as a business owner. I don't know why people be calling. Why? Anyway. Yeah, and then just get feedback, right? That's the whole point. So I won't, belabor on that point. So, website operations. Y'all, some of y'all are still doing business with no website. I'm gonna need y'all to just go to Shopify. It's like $30 a month, maybe 20, or go to whoever platform, Wix, whatever. But you need a website. How are people gonna find you, and how are people gonna write reviews on your website if they can't find you? Like that's the whole point. Is your digital footprint matters the most. And then you can connect it with the different platforms such as like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. The idea is that people need to know that they can find you, that you're real, that you're legitimate. Like if they can't go to a website and maybe your website loads too slow, people will bounce and just get off there like, damn, your website's just janky, it's slow. So you have to think about that stuff. That's very important. Sometimes the presentation matters to people. They're like, damn, like this website look crazy all over the place, and they'll bounce too. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, the flow of the website, it's hard to find stuff. So they bounce. I literally did that for a website that was trying to purchase a particular product. I couldn't find how to buy something. So I bounced. So you want to make sure that your website operations, the flow of it flows properly. Like people can find where they can find services, products. They can find out how to contact you. They know where to find you. They know how to, get a refund. They know all this different stuff if you offer that, right? This has to be listed on your website, and then that shows that okay, you actually take care of business. You're official, and things of that nature. And so that's important when it comes to your business operations. So, and then like if you want to set up a Google Place where people can Google your business, that's also a good thing too. And people can leave reviews there too and whatnot. um I forgot, until a national told me about it. I was like, yeah, I do have one, but I never use it. um so but it's just, that's another way people can find you. That's another lead generation that you don't have to work. Like the idea is that you want to put systems, software, automate things in place so that it basically puts you in a position where you can like focus on the bigger picture, focus on different things. That way you're not boggled down and basically working another job. And then, you're just like kind of stressed out. You're like, damn, like I can't get anything done. Like, why can't I get anything done? And that's because your setup for your website, your systems, your automation is not in place. And it has to be in place. If it's not in place, you're about yourself struggling, right? So hopefully that makes sense with the website. And again, website maintenance, I know it costs, it depends on the platform, but the idea is that you want to have these things in place, so that way that things just run a little bit smoother. Um, and then you can put people in place, in your position that you were like, okay, this is how I did it. You can put somebody there to manage that. That's the idea, right? So let me make sure. Now, the other thing is that a lot of people don't do or take the time to do is tracking your progress, tracking yearly review of yourself. Like, if you don't measure something, then you have no idea how things are going. You have no idea how things are going. And so you want to make sure that you track everything. Um, you also want to, and there's different systems that make the tracking easy. So like different websites have places where they're like, okay, yeah, this is the amount of sales you did this month, this is the amount of sales you did this year, this is the amount that you're projected to do. Or they're like, this is the amount of refunds that you had to do, this is the amount of all these different things. They track that stuff, and you, depending on the platform that you use, you can implement it by downloading plugins and stuff like that. But the idea is that you want to track it, because you don't know how you did. You don't know if you spent too much money. You don't know if you lost money, and that's important. That is very important when you're running your business. So hopefully that makes sense, y'all. Boom, 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 boom. Oh yeah, and also like when like when you have things that are like tracked, you'll know what is working and what is not working, and you'll be like, okay, I have a new idea that I want to try. So you're like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do a launch this following year to see how things will go, and then that's what you do. So you just want to track everything. And then remember, it's you versus you. There is plenty of space for everybody to get it in and win. That's the idea. Like, you're not competing against nobody. You're only competing against you. How did I do last year versus this year? How did I do last month versus this month? And you always want to keep a basis of how you're doing. And that's how you push yourself. And if you don't think you went as hard last year, then you like, okay, I'm gonna make it an effort to go as hard this year. You're like, okay, maybe I lost track of certain things, but like, okay, I'm gonna make it an effort to keep track of X, Y, and Z. That way I hold myself, to a standard. And that's it. Um, so yeah, I mean, these are some of the things that you would want to know for your business, right? And I think the last thing that I wanted to announce, I know I've been telling everybody this, but we're trying to develop a credit union. So if you haven't already, fill out the survey. You can find the survey at hawabdfw.org. It's right on the homepage. Click on it, fill out the survey. That'll be awesome sauce. So on that note, I'm going to open it up for questions if anyone has any questions, and hopefully the people who asked questions beforehand, I answered their questions because that was the whole point. So then make sure that I didn't leave out anything. But I think if there's any other questions, I may. Oops. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I don't think there's any questions from y'all. So hopefully, like this was like useful. Again, you want to make sure that you're running your business operations from top to bottom. I know there was a lot of information that was covered, but it's just like these are some things that you need to know. That you need to know how to do if you want to be running a successful business, especially an indigenous business, right? And keep in mind, when you're at the end of the year, I know some of this stuff pops up where like, oh, do I need to file taxes? There's like I said, when you get a business through ARNA, there's nothing for you to report unless you want to report something to show that you have reportable income on yourself. And then even that, we have a certain process that you would want to do just to make sure that you're following your T's and Q's and stuff like that. So um, yeah, maybe because you're trying to get a mortgage or something or whatever the case is, and so you need to show that you have reportable income. So that's what you would do, right? You would just pay yourself and da da da. But if there's no questions from y'all, hopefully that was useful to y'all. Again, be sure to like this video. I'm gonna save this video on all these platforms, so um, just let me know if there's any questions that pop up that y'all need, and we are here to help. So on that note, family, I'm gonna say peace. Let me end this. Hold on. I'm in that. And then I'm gonna end. Hey, I'm glad it was useful, sister Mia in the building. Um, but yeah, peace, family. Peace, peace. And that.